Welcome back to AHS 20 Questions with Miles and Nick. We have Coach Pod and Mr. Johnson here to talk about the ALICE training. We're going to start with some questions.
All right, first question to Coach Pod. What if the person on the intercom system is unable to convey necessary information to the school for whatever reason? Who takes charge in informing us then?
Well, in that type of situation, one thing they're doing in the schools is they're updating the intercom system as we speak. So there's going to be multiple locations that they can actually inform students or inform staff on what's going on. So there'll be multiple locations for intercom use and also multiple locations for camera use. So they'll be able to see the cameras for multiple locations. So if there was an intruder or some kind of situation in the building, they'll be able to see that in different places. So if one place was compromised, another place would still be available.
All right.
Now, Mr. Johnson, what do we do if a student freezes?
So we're hoping that by practicing the drills and by practicing the new protocols and the new language that we're going to avoid some of that. But at that point, we're really hoping that, again, through all that practice, that the teacher kind of will take the lead on that and, kind of respond appropriately. And so that's not really a student's job, but a teacher's job to kind of take the lead in that situation. It will happen, but we'll just have to deal with it in this situation.
All right, back to you, Coach Pod. What if we have a substitute teacher who is not present for the ALICE training?
A couple of things. We have a couple permanent subs in the building. They will be trained. So that's the good news. Then we have obviously a lot of rotating subs that will come in. We're creating a packet right now that they will have and they will be able to see the first time they come in so they know what the protocol is. But we also have to maybe count on students a little bit to take the lead in that type of situation. So we've talked about in the past that what if a teacher wasn't in the building? So let's say we were in passing and a teacher wasn't in the building or in your room during a lockdown or something, situation like that. The students would have to kind of take the lead. That might be a similar situation, or to help that teacher, along to make the right decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So what if there's a scenario where there's multiple shooters like in or outside the school? Do you know what we do?
So we can only react to the information that we have at the time. Statistically, in all of the school shootings, it's 81% of the school shootings, it's a single person, one person, typically male. And so in that situation, we're going to assume there's only one, and then if we get more information that's different, we're going to have to react to that, perhaps in a split second. So that's kind of what our situation is going to be in that sense. And again, just listening, the alert, A for alert in ALICE, and getting that information and going with that.
Yes. All right. So Coach Pod, what if there is also a fire during a lockdown?
So with a fire, in an actual lockdown, if there's a fire, if the fire alarms go off, we don't want you to leave the room unless you know that there's smoke and fire that is an imminent danger to you in your space. Okay, so if it's you see smoke, you feel smoke coming in, and you see fire coming into your room, you may have to evacuate through a window or through another door. But if not, the fire alarms could very well go off in a situation like that. We don't want you running out into the halls and creating an unsafe situation. So really, with the fire alarms going off, you need to see and hear smoke as well as flames to really evacuate in that type of situation.
Yes.
Now, how will these drills work? Like, will the whole school be involved?
So the drills, it will be a collaboration between the entire school, faculty, administration, and the police department, the Agawam Police Department. And so we'll always have drills be announced. You'll always know, you may not know ahead of time, but you'll know that it's a drill. And then we'll all be we all know our roles and what we're gonna do. And the whole point is to not scare students or staff, but to just kind of practice our responses in situations to be prepared. And so that's kind of how we're going to move forward with the drills. And you'll know from the intercom, some drills will have a specific thing we're practicing. The upcoming one is going to be barricading. So that's how we'll do those.
All right. Another question. Will we ever practice evacuating to a safe location?
That's something that's definitely in the works. One of the big goals for Mr. Nettis, who's the head of safety in Agawam, is to create a unification process. So if there was ever a situation where we had students evacuating and wanted to reunify them with their parents and their loved ones, there's going to be a safe location. So that is something that is definitely in the pipeline. I think we're going to start with, like we said, the barricading first and starting with things inside the school, and then we'll probably build up to that in future drills. Because the goal is to practice everything so we don't have freezing and we're more prepared. So if this situation ever were to happen, hopefully it doesn't, but we'd be best prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, we have the action to respond to a shooting, but what is the school going to do to prevent school shootings?
So to kind of prevent and help with the, I guess the situations in school, preparing for that, or again preventing kind of students from feeling alone or bullied or things that kind of could lead to a situation. We obviously have advisories and check-in, check-out program where students can feel comfortable with another adult in the school, hopefully another teacher that they kind of connect with. We have hired a second adjustment counselor in order to help students feel more supported with the kind of the burdens that they have other than school. We also have Officer Burke and Mr. Nettis always present and helping us, be secure and safe in the school. And we just added key entries to the main entry. And so those steps that we're taking to kind of prevent anything like this happening and making sure people feel safe and secure at school.
Yes. All right, Coach Pod, do we have a way or system to evaluate how safe or secure an area in our school and how it can be improved?
Drills are going to be the biggest thing.
Yeah.
By doing the drills, we're going to be able to look back. Just as we've done lockdown in the past, or we've done, even fire drills in the past, how fast do we get out? That's what these drills are going to be for. They're going to be how well do we barricade, were doors locked, if we do a lockout in the future, are all those outside doors, locked? So we're going to go through those drills and then reevaluate, using Officer Nettis, using Officer Burke in the police department, just to see, how good we're doing and where can we get better, where can we improve, where can we be safer. And I think with each drill, hopefully we get better. And on top of it, Officer Burke and Officer Nettis and Sergeant Grosso with the police department are always looking elsewhere, looking at what other people are doing and what other organizations, school-wide and outside, what are they doing to be safe, and how can they incorporate those safe procedures into our schools.
Yeah.
Now, does it make you nervous that a student in a school is typically the active shooter and they will know about ours?
It doesn't make me nervous because the knowledge that they have doesn't necessarily create an advantage for an attacker, but it does empower staff and students to make a decision, the best decision to keep them safe in a situation like that, and it actually helps them to take back control. So no, it actually makes me not nervous. Opposite of nervous, confident. So
There's power in numbers for sure.
yep.
Yeah. All right. So, Coach Pod, if the power is cut and tools like the intercom cannot be utilized, what is the backup for our communication system?
The backup would definitely be texting. They're going to a text communication system, so that's one of the big reasons we talked about in the training about only allowing students to text their parents every 10 to 15 minutes to give them a status update, because we want to keep those texts in those cell towers available so that emergency personnel can text teachers and staff and update them in a situation like that. And they may choose to use that over the intercom at certain times, so that if there was an intruder in the building and there was information that they could provide that they didn't want that intruder to have, they could provide it that way. So we're moving actually towards that type of system where they can inform kids, parents, and teachers with having certain groups of who they want to give that information to at certain times. But that would be not only a backup system, but a system that they could use in a case of emergency.
Mm-hmm.
If we see something, what is it that we should be reporting, and who are we saying this something to?
So we're asking students and staff and even parents to kind of err on the side of caution in this particular situation. Red flags would be something like, obviously if you see a weapon or if you see a similar picture, something that concerns you on social media, a written online threat, or if you overhear a conversation that's threatening. So again, err on the side of caution, and you're gonna tell someone that you trust, tell a teacher that you trust, an administrator, a guidance counselor, but we would rather you report something and have it be nothing than have you not say something and have it be something. So that's what we would like.
Yes. All right, so Coach Pod, will physical education classes be offering self-defense classes for students?
At this point, we're not going to be doing that. We have no plans to do that at this point. We've given some counter techniques for students to use, and at this point, that's basically as far as we want to go as far as students being engaged or being taught to engage in that type of situation.
What if there's a threat and we were at like pep rally or like an activity period or lunch or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So the auditorium, the gym, and the cafeteria all have at least 4 exits. And so in a situation where there's a threat in one of those places and there's a lot of people, you need to move quickly toward one of those exits. We need you to evacuate. You can do so in a zigzag pattern. You just moving around, just running toward an exit is going to increase your survivability by 90% in a situation like that. So we ask you to evacuate a situation like that, even if the threat is in that room with you.
I think that's a place too where you really want to kind of be more aware. Mm-hmm. You know, when talking about see something, say something. That's a place definitely when we have any kind of like a pep rally or an activity period in the gymnasium. Definitely my senses are heightened and my eyes are kind of all over the place, just kind of making sure that everything is going and looks normal and nothing's kind of weird. Yeah, mm-hmm. And yeah, exactly.
All right, I have a great question for you here right now.
All right.
So yeah, how do we barricade the doors that open outward?
Okay, so obviously a door barricading, if you have a door coming inside and you're putting stuff in front of it, that's actually going to help the door if they were to get through the locks or through the window. That door is going to still open out. So there's a couple things you can do. One is belts and extension cords are probably the 2 biggest things that you can take and you can tie around a door handle or the door jamb at the top to hold that door from opening outward. So that would be probably the number one thing. Biggest thing to remember about that is you don't want to stand directly behind the door. So if we were to put a belt around the door handle, you want to go off and be on the side, so you're not directly behind the door. But that's one way to hold the door from opening outward. You still want to barricade it because you're still going to slow the entry of that person if they were to get through the lock. That door's going to be locked, so that's one piece of it right there. They got to get through the lock first. But still, barricading is going to slow the process, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to delay the process of them getting in, because if it takes them longer to get in, they're going to move on to the next door or the next place. They don't want to waste 2, 3, 4 minutes in a quick situation when they know, there's going to be police coming, in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And do we stop for someone that is hurt?
So this is a difficult question, but the answer is, as a student, no, you're not going to do that. However, a teacher in this situation is going to use kind of their discretion, what's going on, and decide if they can safely help that student. And I know Mr. Nettis is trying to bring in a program where teachers are trained in help, first aid in a situation like that. So we will be better prepared. So as a student, you're going to have to trust that a teacher is going to take care of that person or emergency services once they get in. So as a student, don't do it.
All right. So what happens if someone has a gun in the classroom? Do we fight back?
I think what you have to do is what's safest at that point. I think you're going to react, and I can give you a case in point. When we did our training, which is obviously much more intense than what the students have gone through and will go through, they actually put us in that scenario, and we had no idea. But they put an actual gunman in the room, and he stood up as a gunman, and he was the reaction to that was within seconds. That people just responded. They didn't know what was going to happen, and I think the same thing would happen with teachers and students in a room. I mean, you respond to what's safest. If it's safest to run and you can get out and evacuate, you would do that. But there's a chance that you're going to have to encounter that person right away. So you do what's safest and respond to the situation at hand.
Now, what if I don't trust my teacher? Can I make a different decision?
So your teachers had the most training in this situation. Like Coach Pod just said, we've gone through a more intense drills than the students will go through. And so we really have kind of the knowledge and expertise and the training. And so we recommend that you follow your teacher's lead at that time, even if you feel like you should be making a different situation, because they have the most information and the most practice. So really, we're going to say you got to just trust your teacher on this one. So. Yeah.
All right. Great question here. Do other schools and colleges, any other schools basically, have this ALICE training?
A lot of schools do. This is actually the way a lot of education systems are going. There's another program called A.L.I.C.E, but they're both very similar in a sense of giving you options and giving you and empowering the students and the staff to make decisions that are safest for them based on what's going on. So This has been, the Department of Education for Massachusetts is supporting this. They want all school districts to go this way. I know there's several districts in the area now that are contacting us and Mr. Nettis. What are you doing? How are you implementing this? So we're quickly becoming one of the kind of the forefront districts in the area for putting ALICE in place, how we're putting it in, and you know, how we're getting everybody involved. So, so yes, it's going in a lot of other places, but we're finding out that we're kind of becoming one of the forefront, you know, areas and, you know, districts in the area for it.
Now, that was going to be the long question. Why does no one address students walking around the building when it was open at like 6 a.m. or after an announcement is made at the end of the day for all students to clear the building except for their teacher? No one listens and no one checks to see if students are hanging around. Anyone can enter the building at this time.
So this is obviously a common issue in the beginning and the end of the day. Our administration is really aware of this, and there are some changes that may be coming with the 2018-2019 school year. So things like changing the arrival time of students in the morning, also increasing staff and administrator presence in the morning next year, kind of perhaps having that be a duty. There's talk of that, but for right now, you know, Officer Burke is around in the afternoon, and that is, again, an issue that's being addressed by our administration. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that is probably one of the utmost concerns. I know I had coffee with Mr. Schnepp over February vacation, and he asked me what, you know, I thought the biggest safety concern was, and that was something I kept hearing from staff, from students, and right away Mr. Schnepp, you know, got on it and said, you know, what do you think we can do? You know, and we talked about, you know, reducing the number of doors, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, the rotunda is now not open in the morning for students, is reducing the amount of doors that people can come through. The FAB keys are helping with that as well, and it's just going to keep progressing. So we will have a presence, it looks like, definitely by next year in the morning, and then, you know, after school, we're going to have to work on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the safety of everyone here is at the forefront of the decisions being made, so.
All right, thank you for joining with us today.
Thank you for joining us with AHS 20 Questions. This is Miles and Nick. See you next time.